The Price of Betrayal. A life ruined by lies. From the outside, my life looked like a dream come true. I had a loving husband, Jason, who was hardworking and devoted. We had a beautiful home nestled in the suburbs, surrounded by manicured lawns and white picket fences. For 7 years, we had built a life together that everyone envied. But beneath the surface, my perfect world was rotting, and the truth was, I was the one holding the match. Jason and I had started as a whirlwind romance, filled with passion and promises. But as the years passed, that spark dulled under the weight of everyday life. Jason's job as a regional manager required long hours, late nights, and frequent business trips. His absence left a void I didn't know how to fill. At first, I tried to distract myself with hobbies. I redecorated the house, joined yoga classes, and even volunteered at a local charity. But no matter how busy I kept myself, I couldn't shake the loneliness. It was during this vulnerable time that I met Daniel. The meeting that changed everything. Daniel worked in a neighboring department at my office. He wasn't conventionally handsome, but he had a magnetic charm that made it impossible to ignore him. He was witty, attentive, and, most dangerously, always available. Our first real interaction happened during an office celebration. Jason couldn't attend. He was away on another business trip, so I went alone. Daniel sat beside me, and we struck up a conversation that felt effortless. By the end of the night, I was laughing at his jokes and feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time: seen. Over the next few weeks, our casual chats at work turned into coffee breaks, which turned into private lunches. I told myself it was innocent, that I was just making a friend. But deep down, I knew better. Crossing the line. One Friday evening, after an exhausting week, Daniel and I decided to grab drinks after work. The bar was dimly lit, and the atmosphere felt electric. I let my guard down, laughing freely at his stories and enjoying the attention he lavished on me. As the night wore on, Daniel leaned in closer, his hand brushing against mine. I didn't pull away. When he offered to drive me home, I hesitated but eventually agreed. The car ride was quiet, the tension thick between us. When he pulled up to my house, I should have said goodbye and left. Instead, I invited him in. What happened that night was a betrayal of everything Jason and I had built together. I woke up the next morning consumed by guilt, promising myself it was a one-time mistake. But Daniel was intoxicating, and before I knew it, we were meeting regularly. The pregnancy for months, I juggled the dual lives I had created. With Jason, I played the role of the devoted wife. With Daniel, I felt alive, reckless, and free. But everything came crashing down when I discovered I was pregnant. Jason was overjoyed when I told him the news. He scooped me into his arms, spinning me around the room with tears in his eyes. "We're going to be parents," he said, his voice filled with pride. I wanted to believe the baby was his. I clung to the idea like a lifeline, convincing myself that the timing lined up. But deep down, I couldn't ignore the nagging doubt. Daniel was less enthusiastic when I told him. "What are you going to do?" he asked, his tone more practical than supportive. "Are you sure it's mine?" His reaction stung, but I brushed it off. I told him I would raise the baby with Jason and that he didn't need to be involved. The baby arrives. When Ethan was born, Jason was over the moon. He held our son in his arms, his face glowing with love and pride. But as the months passed, whispers began to circulate. Ethan didn't look like Jason. While Jason had dark hair and olive skin, Ethan was fair with light brown curls and green eyes, features that bore an uncanny resemblance to Daniel. Jason laughed off the comments at first, but I could see the doubt creeping into his mind. The tension between us grew, and I became more defensive with each passing day. The day everything fell apart. The truth came out on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday. Jason came home early from work and found my phone on the kitchen counter, unlocked. I was upstairs putting Ethan down for a nap when I heard his voice, low, shaking, and filled with rage. "Who the hell is Daniel?" My heart sank. I rushed downstairs to find him holding my phone, the screen illuminated with a string of messages between Daniel and me. Answer me, he shouted, his face red with fury. I tried to lie, to downplay what he had seen, but the words caught in my throat. The look in his eyes told me it was too late. Is he Ethan's father? Jason asked, his voice breaking. I couldn't lie anymore. Through tears, I confessed everything: the affair, the doubts about Ethan's paternity, and the guilt I had carried for months. Jason didn't say another word. He grabbed his car keys and left, slamming the door behind him. The fallout. The next few weeks were a blur of chaos and despair. Jason demanded a paternity test, which confirmed what I had feared. Ethan was Daniel's son. Jason filed for divorce almost immediately, citing adultery as the cause. But he didn't stop there. He was determined to make me pay for my betrayal. He told our friends, our families, and even my employer about the affair. At work, I became the subject of gossip and judgment. My boss called me into his office and informed me that my personal conduct was reflecting poorly on the company. I was let go the same day. During the divorce proceedings, Jason fought ruthlessly for custody of Ethan. He argued that I was an unfit mother, and the court agreed. I was granted only supervised visitation. Daniel, the man I had risked everything for, disappeared from my life. He wanted nothing to do with the fallout or the responsibilities of fatherhood. I was left with nothing: no husband, no job, no child, and no support system. Life after ruin. It's been 5 years since my life fell apart. I live in a small, rundown apartment now, working a menial job just to get by. I see Ethan once a month during supervised visits, but he barely recognizes me as his mother. Jason has moved on. He remarried a woman who adores Ethan and has given him the stability I couldn't. They live in the house we once shared, a painful reminder of the life I destroyed. As for Daniel, I heard he moved to another city and started a new family. There are nights when I lie awake, consumed by regret. I replay every decision, every lie, and every betrayal, wondering how I let it all go so wrong. But regret doesn't change the past, and forgiveness feels like an unattainable dream. All I can do now is live with the consequences of my actions, knowing that I destroyed the lives of the people I loved most. In The Price of Betrayal, a life ruined by lies, a woman's affair shatters her seemingly perfect life, leading to a devastating fallout. What starts as a search for excitement and connection soon spirals out of control when she finds herself pregnant with another man's child. As secrets unravel and the truth comes to light, the consequences of her actions rip through her marriage, her career, and her relationship with her child. This heart-wrenching tale explores the depths of guilt, regret, and the irreparable damage caused by betrayal as a woman faces the harsh reality of losing everything she once held dear. When she said the words, "Oh, he's just a friend," I froze mid-smile. The waiter gave a polite nod, jotting down her order, and moved on. I looked at her, waiting for the punchline, but she was already busy scrolling through her phone like nothing happened. The noise of the restaurant around us felt muted as her words echoed in my mind. I stared at her for a moment, my appetite replaced with a hollow ache in my chest. When the waiter returned with our drinks, I leaned forward, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why did you say that?" She raised an eyebrow. "Say what?" "That I'm just a friend," I said, my tone low but firm. She laughed lightly, waving a hand dismissively. "Oh, come on, it was just a joke. Don't take it so seriously." A joke. That's what she called it. I felt a mix of confusion, anger, and hurt swirling in my chest. "It didn't feel like a joke," I said carefully, trying not to cause a scene. "It felt disrespectful." She sighed, clearly annoyed. "God, you're so sensitive," she muttered, picking up her drink and taking a long sip. "You know how people are? They don't need to know everything about us." "Why not?" I asked, my voice a little sharper now. "Are you embarrassed to be with me?" Her eyes flashed with irritation, and she set her drink down a little too hard. "Don't be ridiculous, of course not. But I don't owe everyone our life story, okay? Can we drop it?" I leaned back, trying to process her words. She wasn't embarrassed, she said, but her actions told a different story. For months now, there had been little things: canceling plans last minute, brushing off conversations about the future, hesitating when I tried to introduce her to people close to me. And now this? We spent the rest of the meal in tense silence. She scrolled through her phone between bites, while I pushed my food around the plate, my appetite completely gone. In the car on the way back, the tension was suffocating. She stared out the window, her arms crossed, while I gripped the steering wheel, trying to keep my thoughts from spiraling. When I pulled up to her apartment building, she turned to me. "You're not coming up?" I shook my head, my grip on the steering wheel tightening. "I think I need some time to think," I said quietly. Her face twisted into a frown. "Seriously? You're still upset about that?" "It's not just about that," I said, meeting her gaze. "It's about how dismissive you were when I tried to talk to you about it. It's like my feelings don't matter to you." She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "You're being so dramatic," she said, opening the car door. "Let me know when you're done sulking." And with that, she slammed the door and walked away. The next few days were a blur. I avoided calling or texting her, needing space to sort through my emotions. I spent hours replaying our relationship in my head, questioning whether I had been blind to the signs all along. Jake, my best friend, noticed something was off when we met up for drinks that Friday. "All right, spill," he said, setting his beer down. "What's going on?" I hesitated before telling him everything. The "just a friend" comment, her dismissal of my feelings, and the growing distance I'd felt between us. Jake listened quietly before shaking his head. "Man, I hate to say it, but it sounds like she's checked out," he said bluntly. "I've seen you bend over backward for her, and what does she do? Brush you off like you don't matter." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "It's not that simple," I said. "I care about her. I just don't know if she feels the same way anymore." Jake gave me a sympathetic look. "Look, I get it, but you've got to ask yourself, is this relationship making you happy? Or are you holding on because you're afraid to let go?" His words hit me hard, and I spent the rest of the night mulling them over. When she finally texted me, it was short and to the point. "Can we talk?" We met at a cafe the next evening. She showed up looking as put together as ever, but there was an edge to her demeanor, like she was bracing herself for a fight. "So," she said, stirring her coffee, "what's this about?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. "I need to know where we stand," I said, "because lately it feels like we're not on the same page. That night at the restaurant, it wasn't just about what you said. It was how you treated my feelings afterward, like they didn't matter." She sighed, setting her spoon down. "Look, I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, her tone softer now. "But you've got to stop overthinking everything. Not everything I say or do has some deep meaning behind it." "But this isn't just about one comment," I said, leaning forward. "It's about how you've been treating me for months now. Canceling plans, brushing me off, acting like I'm not a priority in your life. If you don't feel the same way about me anymore, just say it." Her eyes darted away, and for a moment I thought she was going to deny it. But then she sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I don't know," she admitted. "I guess I've been feeling disconnected, like maybe we've outgrown each other." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at her, my mind racing. "So what does that mean for us?" I asked quietly. She shrugged, looking down at her coffee. "Maybe we need to take a break, figure out what we really want." As I walked out of the cafe, the weight of her words settled over me. It hurt more than I could put into words, but there was also a strange sense of clarity. For months, I had been holding on to something that wasn't there anymore.